It was a quiet night in Ekaterinburg until gunfire shattered history. The Romanovs, Russia's last royal family, were never seen alive again. To understand their fate, we must return to a country on the brink. World War I had bled Russia dry. Soldiers deserted, hunger spread. In March 1917, Tsar Nicholas II was forced to abdicate the throne. The Romanovs were now captives, stripped of power, trapped by history. At first, exile in Tobolsk was almost gentle. Books, music, prayer. But as civil war raged, their world grew darker. In April 1918, they were moved to Ekaterinburg to the Ipatiev House. Here, windows were boarded and guards listened to every word. The family's dignity faded, their hope hung by a thread. Outside, war was closing in, and so was their fate. The White Army was pushing toward the city, threatening Bolshevik control. For Lenin's revolution, the Romanovs were more than people. They were a dangerous symbol. If freed, the family could rally anti-Bolshevik forces across Russia. The decision was made. The Romanovs could not be allowed to live. That order traveled from Moscow to Ekaterinburg in a coded telegram. Yakov Yurovsky, local commander, would carry it out. July 16, 1918. The Romanovs spent their last evening together. They prayed, read from the Bible, and went to bed unaware of what was coming. Shortly after midnight, they were woken and told to dress quickly. They were told it was for their safety, a move away from the fighting. The basement of the Ipatiev house was cold, small, and bare. Chairs were brought in. The family sat together, waiting. Suddenly, Yurovsky entered with a group of armed guards. He read a brief statement, accusing Nicholas of crimes against the people. Before Nicholas could respond, the shooting began. The noise was deafening in the small enclosed space. When the smoke cleared, the family lay motionless. But some were still alive. The children had hidden jewels in their clothes, which deflected bullets. The guards used bayonets and close-range shots to finish the grim work. It took 20 brutal minutes to end the Romanov line. Now came the problem: what to do with the bodies. They were loaded onto a truck under cover of darkness. The truck struggled along muddy forest roads. At first, the plan was to throw them into an abandoned mine shaft. But the shaft was too shallow and the bodies might be found. They decided to bury them deep in the forest instead. To hide the remains, they poured sulfuric acid over them. The site was then covered with logs and dirt. Rumors spread quickly in Ekaterinburg, but the truth was hidden. The Bolsheviks claimed the execution was necessary for the revolution's survival. White Army forces captured Ekaterinburg just days later. They searched desperately for the Romanovs, but found nothing. For decades, their fate was shrouded in mystery and rumor. Some believed the children had escaped and fled abroad. Imposters even emerged, claiming to be Anastasia. The truth would remain buried in the Siberian soil for decades. The Soviet regime never admitted to killing the family in detail. In 1977, the Ipatiev house was demolished on government orders. But the forest grave still held its secret. In 1979, two amateur historians stumbled upon the site. They kept it secret, fearing Soviet retaliation. Finally, in 1991, after the fall of the USSR, the grave was exhumed. 9 bodies were recovered, but 2 were missing. DNA testing confirmed these were the Romanovs. The missing were Alexei and one of his sisters. In 2007, their remains were finally found in a second grave nearby. The last chapter of a century-old mystery was closing. In 1998, the family was buried with full honors in St. Petersburg. The funeral was attended by Russia's president and members of the Orthodox Church. For many Russians, it was a moment of national reflection. The Romanovs were canonized as martyrs by the Orthodox Church. Today, the Ipatiev House site is marked by the Church on the Blood. Pilgrims travel from across Russia to pay respects. The story of the Romanovs is told as both tragedy and warning. Historians still debate whether Lenin personally ordered the execution. Some argue it was local Bolsheviks acting in desperation. Others insist the decision came directly from the Kremlin. What is certain is that their deaths marked the end of 300 years of Romanov rule. Russia would never be the same again. The monarchy's fall paved the way for the Soviet state. The Soviet Union erased imperial symbols, but whispers of the Romanovs remained. In exile, surviving Romanov relatives kept their legacy alive. Memoirs and secret letters painted a vivid picture of their final days. Some descendants returned to Russia after the fall of communism. Tourists now visit Ekaterinburg to trace the Romanov story. Artifacts from their captivity are displayed in museums. Diaries reveal a family trying to stay hopeful until the very end. The tragedy still stirs debate and emotion. Some see it as the price of revolution. Others call it a crime against humanity. The Romanovs' faces remain on postcards, coins, and prayers. Their story bridges the imperial and Soviet eras, and their fate warns of the fragility of power. From golden thrones to a dark basement, the fall was swift. From royal processions to unmarked graves, history holds their memory tightly and asks us, what would you have done? The ghosts of Ekaterinburg still whisper in the night. And the question remains, who truly killed the Tsar's family?